Hello. Okay, so most of you guys have been complaining of the sound. Yes, I indicated that the machine I used for recording had a faulty sound card, and so that was why it resulted in the low turnout of the low quality of the tutorial. However, if you even looked at it, you realize that you can follow. But as students as you are, always trying to find excuses. So I decided to do another one so as to reiterate the point. Well, I don't want excuses when I come or say because we didn't hear, that is why we failed to do it. So I have taken the pain to go over it again. So we looked at the Northwind database, and I said that I have already sent it to you in a communique to your groups. So you will find that there are two sets of SQL databases. The first one is for the creation of the table. So you do an import, okay, then you would navigate to the first one, which will be the north wind. Okay, so we would upload that. So when you upload it, it would create the tables for you. I guess so here it has created a table. So if you go in, you see that north wind has appeared. You will see the tables being created, 20 tables. And so at this point, once we have selected the north wind, it means you are using the north wind database. And then you can go ahead and import data into it. So the next line of action is to use the Northwind data. Okay, and then go. And this would uh, input the data into the tables that have been created. Okay, so when we go to the Northwind, this is what we have. We have all this showing us the various tables in the Northwind. But we said for this lesson, we would want to concentrate on the customers table. So when we click on the customers table, you realize that it is pulled a lengthy record for us. All right. And I was trying to say that in this case, you might not be able to appreciate what the columns are made of. Okay. So in order for us to know what they are made of, we would query. We will query it and say it should show us to show columns. Show columns from the customers table. Okay, so here we want it to show us the columns. So you see that when we use this show columns, it describes what exactly is going on in each of the columns. So you see the ID is telling us that it's of data type integer with length 11, and it is not null, and it is also the primary key and have been set on what auto incremental. Okay, so these are the rest of the columns. And we said you can also go ahead and maybe you want to center it in on just the ID and the first name. The ID and the first name. That is what we want. So we can go ahead and write a query and say that select. I don't know why this is looking very small in my eyes. Let me see. Okay, I've increased it because it looks like I'm not seeing it well. Okay, so we say that select ID, okay, comma, then first name, comma, oh, so sorry, yes, first name and ID from the customers table. All right, so when we do this, it's going to pull this without a where. It's going to pull this record for us, entire record for us. All right, so having known this, we would want to still skew it down. Maybe there's certain information you want. We can still use the select statement to select precise. Maybe we just want to see how many of this record or this particular row that has come up bears CA. CA. There are names that are starting with CA. So we can further query it and say we are selecting from, so select ID, okay, comma, first name, all right, and then we would now indicate that from customers where first name. So here we introduce a new keyword called like. First name like. So we would put quotation marks and then we'll put percentage. Then say, right, remember I said we want to see how many names bear or begins with CA. All right, so this is another way of specifying uh, so you see when we did it, it showed us that we have Carlos and Catherine in the system. Okay, so it's as easy as you following with this. On this machine, I don't have the W3 schools. I'm not also having internet, so I'm not able to use any other code. But only the little that I can remember is what I'm trying to put forward, so that we see how best we can appreciate this, the queries. All right. So the next line of action is for us to maybe use uh, where we have a numeric value to select from. So maybe an ID. So we can still use the same thing. Let me just edit this. So edit inline and say select ID first from customer where. So here we can change this where ID. Sorry, where ID is equal to, so an assignment is equal to 18, equal to 18. So when we say it's equal to 18, now you see that 18 is Catherine. Anyway, I saw that it was Catherine that will come up. Anyway, it's just to serve as a proof that at least we understand what we are doing. Okay, and so this shows us a lot of things that we can do with our database. Now we want to go ahead, assuming we have this customers table. We want to change existing data, and I observed here that we have Lee and then Christina. So if we can have Lee as the last name, then I want to update Lee such that it now bears my name, Bedao Christina. All right. And so to do that, we use the update query. Okay. So take note of it. So you see that it's on ID 4. All right. Last name Lee. So we want to update that field. We'll say update customers table, and we'll set last name to be equal to whether, right? Sorry, where ID is equal to 4, right? You remember the ID was 4. So here we're specifying, all right? So when we go back to our customers table, all right, we would see in there that 4, we can see that now my name Weatherwell has been updated. Now this is what we're talking about, that if Ghana agrees that we should go online using our voting systems and then whatnot, people are afraid that some hacker somewhere can go into the and write a query like this to update a lot of things and to favor one party. And so that is why for a long time we might not be using any electronic voting system. All right, so we want to go ahead and modify this table. You can see this table moves up to this side. Now, I can see here that we can do some alteration. We want to add or improve the table by giving it a username column. Right. So what we'll do is we use the query, alter query. So we alter the table and then go ahead and then update it. Right. So we say alter table. Then you make reference to which table you're talking about. Alter the customers table. Then add. So the moment you are altering, meaning you are coming to add or what? Delete. So in our case, we are adding. So here you go ahead and just type in the column name. So here we say we're going to use username. Okay. Username followed by the data type. So we say varchar or varchar. And then we'll indicate the length. So let's say 50. Right. Then we click on go. This should alter the table for us. Okay, it has altered the table. So when we go to the customers table, we should find it at the bottom. So we see we have the username column has been added to it. We can drag it and bring it here. Okay, didn't move. Let me see. It's supposed to have moved. Okay, okay. So you see, you can actually move it. You see, we are moving it. You see, so we can move it for it to come. That is how flexible it can be. We want it to be around this. Okay, so we want it to be here. Okay, I put it here. Okay, so we haven't The last name, so the last name too should come here. First name, last name, good. So we have rearranged it, okay? Okay, this is how we want it to look like. So with this, we have created the username. Now we want to use the entries, the values in here to create a username. So usually convention, we use the first letter, okay, in the first name and the rest of the last name to get our username. Okay, so how do we go about that? We will use the update. So we say update the customers table, set username to be equal to. So now the username that we give, we want it to be equal to. We are referring to the entire. So we say concatenate, concat. All right. Then we put it in. So concat is a function. So we're saying that the left part of the, okay, so the left part, which is the first name, comma 1. So we are talking about the first letter in the first name. All right. Then it's saying comma last name. So mean that this concat takes two parameters. The parameters are those. So it takes this one as a parameter and this as a parameter. So we end here. So this should give us the first letter of the first name and then add it. So concatenate means to combine. That's what it means, concatenate. So we go ahead, then this means it has responded to our call. Then when we look at it, you see that it has been able to combine what we expected. So it has taken the first letter and added it to the rest of the last name. So first letter, the rest of the last name. You can see it here. So mean that it's working for all of them. Right? But the way it's appearing, we don't like it. So we would rather want it to be uh, in such a way that so we can make all appear lowercase. Okay, let me see whether I selected it. Oh, okay, I didn't select. Okay, so we can just go ahead and then type everything again. So we say update the customers table, and then we'll set our username to concat. Concat. All right. Then we say left. Okay. So left means that we say that the left of the first name. Okay, the first letter one. Then with this we'll say last name. Okay, we're not done. So now the last one is to put in uh, oh, a keyword called lower. Okay, lower. So it's inside this. Okay, lower. So meaning that we are saying we are telling everything inside this function. Okay, let it be all in lowercase. Okay, so let's see what we'll get. Go back to this. So that now it has succeeded in turning it into all of them into lower cases. Okay, right. So this is what I was trying to tell you, that you can actually work on a whole table. You can update it, you can alter, you can do quite a lot on it. So today this is a simple thing we did. All right. So I want you to try your hands on it. Make sure you are able to now create a password column. Okay, create a password column and use this first name. Okay, you can use the first name combined with certain text, all right, to get some preset password for everyone. So, and in addition to that, you see that the email address is null. So we would want to rather put in place of the null, use the username to create default emails for everyone in the system. Okay, so what we're going to do, let me write it out for you so that you don't forget it. Okay, so let me see, formats, increase the fonts, 20. Okay, so we're saying that assignment assignment 2. I said create, let me see, assignment 2 1, create uh, another column in addition to the username, rather, the username column I created, and name it as a password in the customers table. So we are saying that let it uh, let it contain let it contain a combination of the first name and these characters. So what are these characters? uh, 1 2 3. All right, so example of what I'm talking about is that if it was my name Victor as the first name, then it should concatenate it with 1 2 3 dash. So this should apply for everyone in the system. So you should be able to use the first name and then you include this to it. Okay. And the second one, to make sure you create the same in another column. So you populate populate the email underscore address. I think it's email underscore address. Let me see. Yeah, email underscore address. Populate the email underscore address column with a combination of first name and at gctu dot dot gh. Okay, so example, this is how we are made. So if it is mine, it should come out as v. No, I think it's rather the user's name. Use the user's name rather. So in this case, it's not the first name, it's rather the user's name. So username. So it should a combination of the username that you have created. Okay, so it's going to be, assuming if it is my name, Victor Badao. So what I did was, in my case, when I look at it, you see that it's rather C Badao. Okay, so you should be able to pick the C Badao. You make it C Badao at ectu.edu.gh. It's the final work. So at the end of the day, you should populate this entire thing for us. Okay. This I will inspect it on the day I come. Okay. From your own machines. And that way would prove to me that you are steady. All right. Thank you so much. You have a blessed day.